All right, we are live.
Hi, this is the Dream and Vision Interpretation Chat. The administrators are New Mystic. He is a speaker and author. He is not with us tonight. He's actually traveling. He has written an introduction to the seven spirits of God, a mystical introduction to angels, and the spiritual hand guide to drumming. And can you guys hear? Can you believe this? My dogs are right in the middle of this. So this is sponsored by The Gathering, which one of our divisions is Dream Interpretation. And if you want to know about our leadership, just click on our website, nwgathering.com, and you can read about the leadership. And for the next 5-6 times, we have Paula Otano teaching from Desire Outreach. She, to me, is probably the #1 dream interpreter in the Northwest. And if you have a chance to take her classes, I really recommend it. And tonight she's going to be speaking on the most common dreams, and she can explain to you what they are and tell you more about the ministry. So Paula, now that I've done a great job at botching the intro, which looks actually hopefully better than the first 2 ones we did, we just started talking, but I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Good. All right, well, welcome to our second chat, and I think we have 4 more after this because it's a 6-week course. So tonight I am going to be speaking on the 20 most common dreams. I'm going to read them off, and then we'll discuss about 10 of them. What I like to do with each one of the classes, not just give you some information, but then I'm going to give you some symbols, what they mean, and then I would like to read some dreams. And able to chime in. I would like your input when it comes time to interpret the dreams. Otherwise, I'll just walk you through how the dreams are interpreted. Something that has happened, I have taught this class for probably 8 or 9 years. Recently, I've been invited to teach it in the libraries, the public libraries. I've taught it at Lacey Public Library, and Anna was there. Oh my goodness, I was so glad she was there. We had 40 people show up for that. I will be teaching September 20th at the Tumwater Library, and then I will be in Yelm sometime in October. And then we're going to offer a full 6-hour class along with Healing for Dreams that we're going to invite the people from the library to. So as long as I've taught this class, I have had doors open to me that never would have happened any other way. I believe that it's imperative that we not just learn how to interpret our dreams so that we can get a message from God for ourselves, but aren't we really, chapter 28, and right there we're told that through us, all nations of the earth will be blessed. So I would just encourage you to listen to these classes once they're recorded, after we're finished, play them back so that you can learn. For me, the best way I learned was just plain doing it, just jumping in. I think Anna had said that she took our class twice before something clicked and it came to life for her and she understood it. And that's kind of how it is. You'll listen, you'll get some tools, you'll get some idea of what some symbols could mean, but at some point it'll just click and you'll get it. And again, the interpretation to dreams always comes from God. One of the things I think is kind of amusing, and that is that when I speak or I teach at the libraries, they advertise me usually 4 weeks or so before the class starts. And they'll advertise me as a local expert on dream interpretation, and it always makes me laugh because new beginner, because again I realize the revelation, no matter what the symbols are, no matter what I understand the symbols to mean, that without revelation from God we really can go nowhere, because all these books that you'll get and the symbol books and what they say the symbols represent, the Lord could switch them up at any time. So none of the symbol interpretations, none of the symbol meanings are in cement. Remember that. These are only possibilities. So before we start, I'd like to do a review of our first class. And the review includes the 3 methods of interpreting a dream. The first method I actually became familiar with because of New Mystic. He had made a comment in one of his teachings, and it just blew me away. I thought, oh my goodness, I never would have thought to do that. So the first method of interpreting a dream would be for you to take the dream, write it out, and the best way to do it is to close your eyes and just put yourself back into the dream and walk around into the scene, whatever's happening here. What is the theme of this dream? What does this symbol mean? What was I seeing? Ask the questions, and you'll get an answer. The second method is powerful. We use it, my friend Elizabeth Robles from Aurora International, or actually no, it's Aurora Worldwide, I'm sorry. She uses this to bring inner healing to people, and I have used it to be able to lead into the inner healing tools myself. And so this method is where you take the dream, write it out, and then invite Jesus, invite Father God, invite the Holy Spirit into the dream, and say, where were you? What part of this dream do you want to speak to me from? And begin to ask the Godhead, ask the questions. What did you want me to know about this? Was there a lie here that I'm believing? One of the things that we are doing right now is we've been invited to teach the dream class, to mention where this military prison is. We've had 3 classes now, and it has been absolutely phenomenal. Our hopes of going in to teach the dream interpretation class was to be able to open a door for these soldiers who are now imprisoned because of some terrible thing they've done. But the root of that probably came out of the wounds. They don't know who they are. They don't have their identity. They've got PTSD. On Wednesday night, I had a young man who's been at every one of our classes, and when he comes, he usually sits and cries. And he finally wrote out what's going on in his life, and it's traumatic. Imagine yourself in Iraq during one of the battles, and you're handing the medic the arm of your friend that's just been blown off because of an IED. He carries this. It grieves him. And that's why we're at the prison, because we teach the first half on dreams. The second half is how to get healed. And we've had some huge open doors, huge inroads. And the thing that is so advantageous about this is that if a young soldier, they're in the military, they can't get it. They have to say, nope, I'm all right. Because if they indicate they've got a problem, they're put on a list, their weapon is taken away, and they could lose their rank. So rather than getting the help they need, they just shut it down. And that's where this class is such a blessing. So get yourself equipped. I'd like it if you've got some paper, because I'm going to, when we go through some of these dreams, what they mean, and then when we interpret, one of the main dreams I'd like to do tonight is actually, it's a game changer. It changed history. I'd like you to write down the symbols as you hear me read them off, all right? And then we'll try to interpret the dream together. So the 3 methods, again, is putting yourself into the dream, asking the questions, what are you seeing? Put Jesus into the dream, and the third method is what I'm teaching and best at, and that is the 5 keys to unlocking your dream. And the 5 keys I'll give you is number 1, revelation. We desperately need God. He set things up so that we'll always need the Holy Spirit. There will never be a time that we won't need God. We won't need the help of the Holy Spirit. And I believe that the purpose for dreams is to break into our lives even when we're sleeping, and to give us, well, like Job says. I'm going to read the key verse, and this is one you'll want to write down. It's found in Job chapter 33. And in the Amplified Version, they say it best. It says, "For God does reveal his will. He speaks not only once, but more than once, even though men do not regard it, including you, Job. One may hear God's voice in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men while slumbering upon the bed. Then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, terrifying them with warnings, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and cut off pride from him. He holds him back from the pit of destruction and his life from perishing by the sword. And if you ever had deja vu is not some spooky, ethereal, supernatural, spiritual thing. It is simply an instruction that you've been given in a dream. It's been sealed, and finally, when you walk it out, it comes back to you, and you're thinking, "Oh my goodness, I've been here before." Yes, you have, probably in a dream. So the first key is revelation. God will give you revelation. Daniel knew that. Joseph knew that. Any dream interpreter from the Bible, they understood. The interpretation ultimately comes from God. The second key is symbols. You're going to want to look into the dream and figure out which symbols are setting the scene for the dream to give you some context, and which symbols are really key to giving you the message. The next key is context, taking those symbols and putting them in context of the dream. And I like to use the example, if you've got a dream and you've got three men, they're dressed in white, and you can think three, it's the number of God, white, that's is, and all of a sudden, those three men dressed in white begin to rob people. Now you know it's something that looks good, but it's really bad. It could be a religious spirit. It could be, again, anything, but you've got to put it in context to the whole dream. If someone were to call you and say, "What does a diamond represent? I had a dream with a diamond." Well, you need to take a look at the whole dream and put the diamond in context of the dream. We can give an idea of what a diamond may represent, but to get the message of the dream, you've got to put the symbols in context to what's happening. And the next thing you'll do after that is you'll want to put the dream in context to your life. And you're going to want to take a look. What's going on in my life? How does this dream speak to me? And if it absolutely does not speak to you, that's where you take a look at the people in the dream. And again, a symbol is a person, place, or thing. It's a noun. Somebody else. But 99% of the time, when we dream about various people, quite often it is really something that's going to speak to our life. It's not normally about that other person. It can be. And again, it comes down to what they call extrinsic and intrinsic dreams. Intrinsic dreams are those that are about us, about where we are, what's going on in our life. Extrinsic dreams are those about nations. Who was it? The Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar. They had dreams about the nations. That was their involvement. That's where they were involved. If you're somebody who's very involved with your city, you may have dreams about your city. But if you're very involved with people, you will dream about other people. But again, take the symbols, put them in context of the dream. Take the dream, put it in context to your life, and begin to ask Holy Spirit for some revelation. Is this about me? Are these people really something that's going to speak to me? Or is it about my pastor? The next, and that's where you determine, who is this dream for? Is there anything in here that speaks to me? If not, then go to the next level and maybe speak to the people in your dreams. See if it maybe has something to do with them. And the last key, number 5, is to confine and define, which is to reduce the dream to a smallest possible message. So if you have a dream and you write it out, it could be pages and pages long, but the message could be put into 2 or 3 sentences, into a paragraph. And we'll be looking at that as the weeks go on. All right, so the 20 most common dreams that I'm going to cover. And I'm just going to read through them, and then we'll discuss some of them. Dreams of your house. Dreams of going to school. Various vehicles. Dreams concerning storms. And I think, Brian, you've had some of these maybe. I know, Anna, you've had dreams about tornadoes. People, tsunamis or tornadoes. And if we have time tonight, I may present one of the dreams having to do with a tsunami. It's really a beautiful dream, and it speaks to the coming of Jesus. But we'll get there. Fear dreams, and particularly children have fear dreams. And often when you have a fear dream, it will often we can refer back to some wounds that we've got with our fathers. Because what's the father's job? It's to protect us, to provide for us, and to give us our identity. So if we've got fear, somewhere along the line, that door was open to us, and it was probably a situation where our dads either willingly, knowingly, or unwillingly, unknowingly contributed to that. They opened that door by not being there when we needed them. Even the best dads can do this. And that's where we love to teach the healing for dreams, and we'll be getting to that in our 5th class, I believe. It'll be our next class at this point is scheduled for September 16th. Is that correct, Donna, at 5:30? So we're going to plan on that. All right, so dreams concerning storms. That's the 4th most common dream. Oh, I'm sorry, fear dreams, the 5th. We're up to number 5. All right, number 6 would be flying or soaring dreams. Dreams of being naked, which speaks of being vulnerable. It could speak of you're going to be exposed, but how you felt in the dream is how it'll play out in real life. The condition of your teeth, past relationships, dreams of dying or giving birth, taking a shower, dreams of falling, chasing or being chased, relatives alive or dead, nightmares, snakes, dogs, and cats dreams, snapshot dreams. We can see when they're in Daniel chapter 4, there was a little tiny bit of action, but more than anything, this was just a snap and what he was made of. But from that declared the generations and the kingdoms that would come up to the time of the return of Christ. Very powerful dream. Going through doors, dreams of clocks and watches, and dreams with scripture verses, where you wake up with a verse or a song. So I want to cover some of these a little bit more detail. Dreams of your house. If you're dreaming about your house, take a look at the rooms that you're in. How big is the house? What color is the house? The color is important. But if you don't see a color, don't stop and overanalyze the house. It might just be simply a signpost that says, pay attention, this dream is about your life. Take a look at how big the house is. If you find that in the house you're going into a particular room, say you're walking into the kitchen and you're cooking something, that's quite common. And what that speaks to is what you're preparing to nourish yourself and others. And in that case, you'd take a look. What is it in the dream that you're preparing? Is it something good, or is it something that's going to poison somebody? And that will tell you, again, where you are. Perhaps maybe you are in a place where you're searching out the Word, and if you're preparing something really nourishing, this could give you the confidence to continue on. It could be God's affirmation. Good job, keep going. If you're in the bathroom, again, you could be in a time of cleansing. And if you dream, and this is a common dream, that you're going potty in front of people. I've had a dream like this, and I'm just, there I am, big as life, people walking by, and they're not paying any attention. And what that dream was really speaking to is that someone was going to confront me. I was going to have something dealt with that I needed to be rid of. But in my dream, it was no big deal. And so in real life, when it really happened, it was no big deal. So don't be panicked, and don't feel condemned or feel dirty when you not something you have done. It could very well just be a fabulous message to affirm you. So again, it's very important that you understand how to take the symbols and put them in context to the dream. A school. If you find yourself in a school, I had a man who would dream every year at the same time. He was always in school, and just before he woke up, he was always coming up short. He didn't have enough credits. He wasn't going to pass. He wasn't going to get to go to the next level. And the point of that whole dream, he actually had someone in his life who was making a very regular attempt to letting him know that he didn't measure up. He always came up short. And this poor man not just lived it in real life, but he would dream about it. And again, this was just God's way of saying, there's something here we want to heal. There's a lie you're believing. You do measure up. You are valued. And regardless of the people that were bringing this to his attention, making him feel this way, again, they were just working against him and not for him. Vehicles. And we'll cover this in, I believe, the fifth or sixth session. And but cars, planes, boats, and buses, these are all vehicles, are a means of getting us someplace. So again, if you have a dream about a car, it could speak to your ministry. It could just be a signpost saying, pay attention to the rest of what's happening here. This is about your ministry. Or it could just be a tool to tell you you're in transition, because we don't live in our cars. We don't often live in buses. And so however large, whoever's driving, pay attention to who's behind the wheel. It'll tell you what's happening in your life, what's happening in your ministry. I had a friend who was going through a crisis, and this person that was causing the crisis was actually in a dream of someone on their board. And in the dream, this person was driving the car. The person was driving the car over a cliff and now under the water into the ocean. And that's exactly what this person was doing in real life. And it was important for this person to see, oh my goodness, they are in control. They have taken control, and they don't have my best interest in mind. And it was because of this dream they were able to distance themselves and begin to get some help and get that person out of the picture. Teeth. When your teeth fall out, pay attention to which teeth it is. Which teeth are falling out? Is it your wisdom teeth? Are you lacking wisdom for a situation? Are you losing your eye teeth? Maybe you're losing your ability to see clearly into a situation. When all your teeth are falling out, and when we were speaking at the prison the other night, someone said, yeah, I dreamed that all my teeth have fallen out. Well, this person was feeling pretty happening in their life. And of course, what we were able to do with that is to bring a little bit of resolution, because they were believing a lie, that they really made a big mistake, and now there's no hope. And the truth is, there's always hope. Where there's Jesus, there's always hope. Past relationships. If you have a dream and you've got a grandmother or grandfather that reappear into your dream, take a look at what they meant to you. Were they a positive influence in your life, or were they a negative influence? And then put them in context to what's happening in the dream. We had a young man who came to our booth at one of the fairs, which is what we do. We like to join up with community outreaches. Anna's been a part of many of those, and what a blessing she is. But this young man came in, and he's about 18 years old, and you could see he was living on the streets. And he said, I keep dreaming about my grandma. She keeps coming to me, and she's chasing me, just chasing me in all my dreams. And she's was she a Christian by any chance? Well, yeah, she was. It was almost like, how did we know? And we said, she's coming to you. This is actually God coming to you and telling you what you know is right. And you need to get your life together. Quit running from him. And we don't believe in clairvoyance or the dead coming back to speak to us, but what did they represent? And he understood. And he goes, oh, man, yeah, you're right. Busted. Birth dreams are, if you're giving birth to something, again, that's pretty self-explanatory, but people often don't get it. If in a dream you've been given a baby or you've given birth to a baby, you're either being entrusted with somebody else's ministry or somebody else's business or somebody else's trial or trauma. If you're the one giving birth, it's something that God is birthing in you. It could be something you're in the process of birthing. It could be that he's put something in you and you haven't understood the full impact. It could be that the Lord planted a seed in you for something and it was beyond you. You had the thought that, oh my goodness, really me? And then you have a dream that you're pregnant or that you're about to give birth. It could be now is the season for that thing to come to life. Because God is so good. He comes into our dreams. He gives us our dreams. And I believe that every dream, even if the devil slipped one in, which I don't believe he does, I believe when the devil slips one in, it's simply God standing back and laughing, saying, look at that. He put all his cards on the table. And now you know how to play the game because he's been exposed. So all dreams, I believe you can find a message in. And there are some that are that are because you're taking drugs. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you're not feeling well. But again, in all of them, you can always find Jesus, and you can find a message in them. So birthing dreams can speak to your destiny, your purpose, what's going on in your life or your ministry or your work right now. Dreams of dying. I did have someone come into our booth, and she said, I had a dream, and the dream was that my brother was drowning. And within an hour after waking up, she got the phone call that he had drowned. So why would God give her a dream like that? I think he wanted to prepare her. But normally when you dream of somebody dying, quite often, what does that somebody, what does that person represent? What was happening in your relationship with them? It's possible that relationship is dying so that God can it can be rebirthed. It can be born into something beautiful. Maybe it wasn't a positive relationship. Maybe there's something that they represent that's going to die in you, which is a good thing. Because wherever there's death, what does the Bible say? It says, except a corn of wheat. But if it die, then it will come forth and bring forth much fruit. So dying dreams can be very good. Again, we have to put everything in context and bring it before the Lord. But don't be afraid if you dream that somebody is dying, because it could very well be not. I love to tell the dream by John Paul Jackson. There was a woman who came to him, and actually it could take sometimes, like this particular dream, John Paul said it took him 2 weeks before he got the revelation on it. And the dream was a woman came to him and she said, I think my husband's going to die. And he said, why? She said, I had a dream, and in this dream there was this weasel, and my neighbor always calls my husband a weasel. And this weasel was chasing little chickens all over the place, and finally he chased these chickens right across the street, and a big truck came and it hit him and killed him. And I think my husband's going to die. He later called her and he said, you work for a trucking industry, don't you? She goes, yes. And he said, that weasel is your boss, and he's been chasing the chicks, but he's going to get caught, he's going to get busted. She said, that's exactly what happened. And so it brought quite relief to her, because the weasel was not her husband. So, all right, moving right along. Dreams of falling. If you dream that you're falling, think about it. If you're falling, you're not in control. And when people have dreams of falling, quite often it's because situations in their life have caused them to feel out of control. Dreams of being chased, which is one I just mentioned, or chasing someone. This could speak to either God is after you, or you are pursuing him, or you are pursuing something. Look at what you're pursuing in the dream. Is it good? Is it bad? When you wake up from a dream, ask the question, how did I feel about this in my dream? Not and they whispered and took me aside because they were so embarrassed about this dream. And the dream had to do with them being in bed with somebody, and this is a person who is very godly, and they were in bed with an old girlfriend, and they were both naked, and he pulled back the covers and looked, and then he covered her up again. What could that possibly mean? Oh, he felt so bad and condemned. And right away the Lord spoke and said, you are the person that can see the nakedness of others and choose to cover it up. It was an affirmation dream, letting him know that the way he conducted his life was very pleasing to God. It had nothing to do with the sexuality. And then lastly, I want to discuss, well, maybe we'll cover a couple more, snake dreams. You have dreams about snakes. Think about what a snake is. It has a long tail. It's a lie. I had a woman tell me a dream where she had snakes in her hair, and her ex-husband was doing everything he could. The mother-in-law came into the dream, and the mother-in-law was upset with her. And the more snakes got out of her hair, the more snakes appeared. And she woke up. And I said, so the mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, you get along with her okay? Oh, no. Does she lie about you? Oh, yes. And my ex-husband has been trying to help me with those lies. And there you go. Um, Dreams with doors. Take a look. What's behind the door? Is the door opening or is it closed? It could very well be a new opportunity for you, good or bad. Context is going to tell you. And lastly, I think one of the most common is our dreams of flying. And when you have dreams of flying, number one, if you really could fly, that would be supernatural, wouldn't it? Dreams of flying speak to the supernatural, where the Lord wants to take you. And if you're flying, He wants to show you things. The higher you go, the more perspective you can have, the farther you can see, so it can speak to the prophetic. If you take a look at Scripture, Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 3, it says, He was lifted up by a lock of His hair, and He was suspended between the heavens and the earth. And God took Him to Jerusalem, and He showed Him what sinful things were happening in the temple. And then the revelation of John, Revelation chapter 4, where John was taken up, and he was showed not just the glory and the extreme love of God, but what was coming to earth. And he looked and he saw that door that was open. And I heard somebody say over the last year, that door was opened to John, and that door has never been shut. And at this point, we're living in a season where that door is open. All right. So how can we remember our dreams? A lot of people say, oh, I just don't dream. Well, and we'll go crazy. So it's not about whether you dream or not, but it's about recall. And to have recall, we need to ask the Lord. That's, again, it's that communication. So before going to bed, have your tablet by your bed and a pen and ask the Holy Spirit. Say, before I wake up, would you please help me to remember this, to take note of this dream. And as soon as you wake up, there's a verse, and I believe it's either in Ecclesiastes or Proverbs somewhere, but it talks about dreams. It says they escape, and they do so quickly. And even if you're waking up and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not going to write this down, this is a nutty dream, write it down. Some of my nuttiest dreams were the most powerful that set me free. So make sure that you ask the Holy Spirit, have your tools beside you, your journal, your pen, and also make sure you have a clean slate. Oftentimes if we hold unforgiveness or resentment, want to deal with that. So before you go to bed and when you wake up, Holy Spirit, is there anyone I need to forgive? Get your slate clean. And then value your dreams. Never consider a one to be a loss. Don't consider it last night's pizza. Don't consider it too silly to write down, because they all, I love the saying that I have in one of my manuals, dreams are simply a place where we can all be safely and securely insane for a night. All right, so at this point I want to cover some symbols, and I've chosen a theme. I like to do a theme, and then we'll move on to interpreting this dream that changed history. All right, so tonight's, yeah.
We had a question off of the YouTube. Somebody was wondering about colors and numbers.
Yes, and we're covering that in our next lesson.
Awesome, okay. Colors
and numbers are very important, but we will cover that, all right? And there are in my resource list that we gave out, and it's Kevin Connor's book, it's Symbols of the Bible, that'll help you. And you can pull it up online and go online and take a look at what colors mean, because I take information even from the New Age, even from secular realms. I will go and look at their stuff and see what they say. They have a partial truth, and sometimes they can get a good truth. But more than anything, again, the color yellow it can mean your mind, it can mean enlightenment, it can mean cowardice. You put it in context to the dream. So we'll cover that in the next lesson when we come together again. Or I think it's in the fourth one, Anna. I'll have to take a look. All right, so buildings. A large house could speak to a large family or church. Does it look familiar? I had a gal who came into our booth downtown. We were just learning to interpret dreams. And so we hung a banner. We had to get a permit from the city. We hung a banner, and she came in, and she says, all right, I had this dream. I was in a house. It was a big yellow house. and it's not the house I live in, but that's where I was in my dream. So the boyfriend knocked on the door. I opened the door, and I said to him, come into my house. But when I invited him into my house, I actually invited him to another house that was inside the house. It was like a dollhouse. So as I invited him into the dollhouse, we both went in. And she says, and then I woke up. And right away the Lord said that that's Jesus, not the old boyfriend. It's Jesus outside the door knocking. He wants to come into your heart. The little house spoke to her heart. And I said, so Jesus would like you to take him into your heart. And she said to me, well, that's just what I did. I said, when did you have that dream? She says, about 4 months ago. I said, did you know who Jesus was before the dream? She said, I didn't know him. But when I woke up, I knew that's what he wanted, and so I did it. So again, a large house, small house, it could speak to your heart. It could speak to... If you're having a dream where someone is in the basement or you're in the basement, this speaks to things that are unseen. Someone could be doing something in secret. It could be the Lord revealing to you someone's motive, good or bad. It's things that are below the surface. If somebody's been talking to you and they've been telling you an explanation about something that happened and they're trying to get something resolved, but you have a dream about them, it could very well be that the Lord is saying, well, there's something even more that you're not seeing here. It could speak to going deeper. An addict. What is in an addict? Things of your past. Often things in an addict are dusty. Dust could speak to something that's dead, something you've neglected. It could speak to neglect. Take the addict and what you're looking at, what's going on in the attic, the treasures you're finding, the heirlooms that could be kept there, and put some talents that you have just put on the back burner. You've kind of put them in the attic, and he wants to now bring them to light. An office building. It could speak to your job, or it could speak to your position in a ministry or in a church, particularly if you're getting a new office. It could speak to a new office you're going to be placed in. Let's see. All right, a high-rise. Let's go to a high-rise. That could speak to how high you're going to rise in your ministry, in your work, in your life. 1 Peter 5, 5 and 6 speaks to God exalting the humble, but he gives grace. He exalts the humble, but he resists the proud. So a high-rise building could speak to a position of your heart. Where is your heart? A cracked foundation. I don't think I need to explain that one. If you're in a house and that it's maybe not your house, maybe it's somebody else has a cracked foundation, and he's going to show you how you can help that person. In a building, you'll find elevators. So what floor are you going to get off on? If the door opens up on the 8th floor, which 8 is the number of new beginnings, perhaps you're going to be promoted either in your job or in your ministry or even in the kingdom of God. And we know that when we're promoted, quite often promotion looks like something quite lowly. I love what Heidi Baker says. She says we need to go low and slow. And I think the lower we go, the higher in God's eyes we rise. So elevators, what floor are you getting off on? Maybe if you get off on the 5th floor, it could be that you're going to need some grace for this next season, or you need to give grace or show grace for the next season. And of course, stairways are equal. It could mean that you're going to be promoted quickly. If you're on a stairway, it's going to take a little bit more effort, a little bit slower. And take a look at which way you're going on the stairs. Are you going up? Or are you going down? Context, again, is going to tell you what the stairs represent. I've covered schools, large buildings, a new home, your grandmother's house. That could represent, again, past issues. What kind of a relationship did you have with your grandmother? I've had dreams given to me by people about being in their grandmother's house, but it wasn't a very pleasant thing. The grandmother was not a very kind person to them. So out of all the most common dreams I have just mentioned, there's a dream we're going to interpret, and it actually has 5 out of the 20. It's got 5 symbols in it that are out of the 20 most common symbols or common dreams. When we get to that, I'd like you to be writing these down. I am going to give you a dream that I had, though. I was actually hanging from a 5-story building. And putting the dream in context to my life, what was happening with me at the time was I was preparing to do an outreach, and it's an outreach that we do every year. And every year I go through the same issue. It's to the point now we've done it for about 8 years, and so for the last 4 years it hasn't been a problem. But this is within the first 4 years of this outreach. It's joining up with a community event. And because I really wasn't a vendor, there wasn't a place for me. But they have something called a place of public expression, and it's quite a large community event. Everybody comes, and this area for public expression is very small. And I've always been very concerned that they wouldn't let me put my tent there. As a matter of fact, one year we put it up, and as we were tearing down after 3 days of ministry, one of the leaders of this event, the organization, came to me and said, "You can't take that tent down." "No, that was yours. I never would have let you put it up." So these are the things I was always facing. So this particular year, I have a dream the night before, and of course I'm going through my usual stress. Are they going to let me put it up? Lord, it's such a fruitful field, and we always bring people to you, and it's always so much fun. Please, can we have that place? So I go to bed, and I dream this dream. I'm hanging from a 5-story building, and it just happens to be the 5-story building where I work. So I'm hanging from this building, and there is a person who's standing at the top of the building looking down at me, waiting for me to let go, because it will be his turn next, and there's people lining up behind him. And I'm holding onto the building. I know the way I'm going to get down is the way I've always done it. I need to let go. But it was frightening to me, and I can remember looking at the person, and you know how in dreams you can speak without using your mouth, and I was saying to this person, wouldn't it really be much easier to take the stairs? To me, but this is how you've always done it. And I thought, okay. And he was waiting, and people were backing up. They were waiting for me to let go so they could go. So in my dream, I was just about to let go, and I woke up. And immediately, as soon as I woke up, and the dream came to my mind, I right away knew what it was. It seems scary. Maybe they'll let me there, maybe they won't. But this is how I've always done it, and I've always had no trouble getting on. After that dream, every year after that, it was just a breeze. I'd go talk to them, and of course, they'd always let me put up my booth, and we'd always have success. And it was just, I think, God's way of breaking that fear that maybe they were going to tell me no. So I'm going to move on, and we're going to do this dream. You can find the dream online. You can also find it in this fabulous book that I have discovered that I love, and it's called The Secret History of Dreaming by Robert Moss. And if you don't want to buy the book, but I'm not going to begin by giving you the context of the dream. I'm going to give you the dream first, and I'm going to go slowly so you can write down the symbols. And then I'll give you the context that the dream was given in. That month, Dixon, the man's last name who had the dream, Dixon dreamed that he and his wife were living in a bungalow in an oil camp in the heart of the desert. Nothing was growing in the scene except an immense cedar tree, and that word is spelled S-I-D-R. Standing near the house, a wind blew up, and a sandstorm of unusual violence shook the house, and the grains in the air, the grains of sand, made it very hard to breathe. When the storm abated, Dixon went out and saw that the storm... He looked down into what appeared to be an ancient tomb. There was a prone figure shrouded in rotted yellow cotton cloth. It was laying on a stone slab. When Dixon and his wife began to peel the ruined cloth away from the mummy's head, They were surprised by the beauty of the young woman's face that was revealed. Her skin was like parchment. Dixon called for his servants to dig a fresh grave. But to his amazement, the mummy came alive. The parchment skin grew soft and smooth, and a lovely woman stepped free from her shrouds. She told the Dixon she was cold after sleeping for thousands of years and needed food and warm clothes. She gave them a very ancient copper coin. They led her by the hand into the house, where their Arab maid washed her and dressed her while they prepared food. After eating, the woman from the tomb sat under the cedar tree. Would try to bury her again, and that Dixon must seek the aid of the sheik and the British government. As she spoke, a mob of angry men brandishing weapons appeared. They were led by a white-bearded man armed with a long knife, who looked like a Persian. Colonel Dixon flew to the defense, killing the leader with a blow. And driving off the men who were digging a fresh grave, he took the girl back inside his bungalow. That's the dream. I've had a couple of comments, Brian, I saw come in, but I didn't see the comments. Is that something that I should address at this point?
Yeah, if you click the chat on the left side there, looks like Tamara has a question for you about a dream. Whether or not you want to answer that now or during interactive time, that's up to you.
Okay, does it have to do with this dream?
No, it does not.
Okay, so we'll get to that when we're done with the dream, all right? Because I'd love to have some of their dreams interpreted and answer any questions they've got. All right, so I'm going to give you some context to this dream. In September of 1937, and remember, this dream pretty well changed the world as we know it, as they knew it. In September 1937, the Kuwait Oil Company was drilling at a lonely place called Bahra, and work was not going well. They had probed far deeper than they had intended, and they found no trace of oil. So that's when this man Dixon had the dream. So now what do you think the dream is speaking to? Anybody have a thought? Anna, have you heard this dream before? You're on mute. You're on mute. I see your. There we go. Go ahead.
I have not, but I think I know the answer, so I don't know if I should speak up or not.
All right. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to let you be the first in line to give the interpretation. And what I'd like to do is go through the symbols. So I'm going to. Do you want to read us the symbols? Did you write down any of the symbols of the dream?
I was thinking them more in my head, which I'm notorious for, and so I think I know you're going to go. I'm going to let you go through the symbols, and
all right, we'll go through the symbols, and then you're going to give the interpretation. All right. All right. So we've got a bungalow, we've got the heart of the desert, we've got an ancient cedar tree by a house. The house or the bungalow, I guess. There was a storm, which is one of the 5 common dreams. The house is one of the 5 common dreams. There was an ancient tomb. There was a prone figure. It was shrouded. There was rotted yellow cotton cloth. There's a stone slab. There is a mummy, and then the mummy's head, which begins to come to life. It's a young woman. Her skin was like parchment. Dixon called for his servants to dig a fresh grave, but to his amazement, the mummy came alive. There's the parchment skin grew soft and smooth. The lovely lady stepped free. And see, there's also, I guess you want to say there's symbolic actions. So it would be the lady stepping free. She told the Dixon she was cold And how long had she slept?
Centuries,
She needed
wasn't
what?
it?
She needed food, someone to take care of her. And what did she give them? Remember that, Anna? What did she give them? Very.
Oh, I'm bad.
That's okay. That's all right. She gave them a very ancient, there was a lot of symbols in here. She gave them a very ancient copper coin. So the Arab maid is in the dream. And what does she do? She washes this woman that came out of the tomb. She dressed her. She prepared her food. After eating and being taken care of, the woman, she went and sat under the cedar tree. And she had a warning. What was the warning? That wicked men would try to bury her again. And what was Dixon supposed to do about that? He was supposed to go to the British government and the sheik and try to get some help to make sure that this woman was not buried again. All right, now we've got the point of the angry men coming with their weapons. But who is it that defeated the angry men? It was Mr. Dixon, right? All right. So, Anna, go for it. I can see you're just busting.
See, my problem is I know some of the most famous dreams, and I immediately zeroed in on 3 or 4 symbols and just blanked out in the rest.
That's
Because
how I do it too, Anna. That's how
do
I
you
do
really?
it.
Okay. So the heart of the desert is very important. Okay. The protection is very important when taking it in context, when you consider the conflict in the Middle East. Okay. We have this precious woman, and she is to be taken care of.
What is it now? You paused. I didn't hear that.
What we have this precious woman, and she is supposed to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. What is precious in the Middle East in the desert?
You got it. Yeah. Yeah.
I said that's the largest oil reserve in the world because I knew it was found from a dream. So see why I didn't write down. I went, I know that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, you've never told it to me before. I had heard that the oil reserve was found because of a dream.
And it was the Kuwaiti Oil Company that did it. And it says, Dixon told his dream to the Sheikh of Kuwait, who heard him with great respect. He told the managers of the Kuwaiti Oil Company that they should move their drilling operations to Burkan. The oil company followed Dixon's advice, and they found that tree. He went to a dream interpreter. And her name was to that tree, and it was at the base of that tree that they found the greatest oil reserve in history. And the rest is all history. And actually, you can pull up that well. It's called the Burkan number 1, and that was in 1938 that they began. They never actually got oil from it until 1940-something, but they began their search. But it was all based on the dream. All right. So we have done that. Now, let's take some questions. So I think I see where to do it. Is this where, let me see if that's it. All right.
It's the blue square on the top left. You click
got it. I just did it. All right. So, Tamara, I'm going to take your question. What would you say of a dream where you're being shown land that is going to be yours by an ancient-looking man wearing white robes and sandals? So my question to you, Tamara, would be, how did you feel about that? Is that something you've been... Can you go ahead and either type your answer or... there we go. Oh, you recognize the land. All right. Are you looking for land right now? Okay. So how did you feel about the man wearing sandals and the white robes? Oh, you recognize the land? Yeah. How did you feel about the man? Oh, so in the dream, you told him you were going to hold him to his word? Okay. How did you feel about him, though? Did you feel good about him? Okay. So it's pretty obvious that you're looking for land, and I believe the key to this land that you're going to be given, and I believe you're going to be given land, is going to be your patience. He's got this venture. It's quite a large business deal that he's involved in. It happens to be in Las Vegas. And there's a key component to this that he's been hanging on for the last 6 months. But he never got frustrated. And he knew it was something that absolutely had to come into play, or this thing couldn't happen. But he knew it was going to be okay. Well, God had him wait right up to the very last moment. Last Friday, he met a man that owns the largest sound company in the world. This that he's doing is dealing with sound and lighting. So he met this man because they were together, working together at an event. So now, come this week, and he needs this thing to be finalized this week, he's given a contact, and guess who that contact is? It's this man that he'd met last Friday who's going to give him not just the best deal in the world, but better than anything he could imagine. But I believe this dream is a promise. I hope you've written this dream down, and I hope you dialogue with God about it, because he's giving you a promise. And in the dream, you say he said that he's going to give it to you. God's in that kind of business. I've had 3 properties given to me, and so he's good. Be patient. All right. So did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions before we move on or wind it down? I am so glad you're enjoying this. I am so glad. I am thoroughly enjoying it. All right, so if we're ready, I would like to share a dream that was shared with us at the, well, I'm not even going to say where it was shared with me. But here's what we do, and you're going to learn this particular tool when we get to Healing for Dreams. But I just want to give you a little teaser. And on anything down, but I bet you're going to get this dream too. All right, so I'll let you, unless somebody else would like to chime in with an interpretation. But listen to this, Anna, and I think you'll get it. So this young man, and actually he's in prison right now, so he's the one that gave it to us. So in the dream, he went on a snowboarding trip. He got to take the wheel of the car one day, and he got lost because he didn't use GPS. It says we were somewhere, I think feels familiar, but not, he didn't know his way around. He stopped somewhere to eat. Then they go to a house or a hotel or someplace where they needed some clothes. So they got their clothes, and there was some dialogue about what to wear, long sleeve, not a shirt, and then a sweatshirt. Only one buddy was there. He was kind of rushing me. He was leaving, and then I realized I forgot socks. I went back in for socks, but remembered he was driving. This time, I felt like a third wheel, kind of like I'm going to be abandoned at any moment. What would you tell someone with a dream like that?
Well,
Anna?
first, am I frozen again? No. You froze for a moment,
okay.
And I heard I forgot socks, and then this time he was dreaming. What was in between?
Okay. He said, I forgot socks. I went back in for socks, but I remembered I had some already out somewhere. When leaving, his friend was driving. This time, I felt like a third wheel. I felt like I could be abandoned at any moment.
Okay. Well, first of all, the lack of GPS and some of those things say I'm not prepared for life. My life may be out of control. And then at the end, it's really saying I have no control of my life.
Real quick, before you go in, anyone, what's the best GPS we could have?
God.
Well, it's the Bible. Yes, God. It's His Word. That gives us direction. So go ahead.
That's a good one. So yes, he's missing his GPS.
Yeah.
He's not in control of his life. They stop for food and a place to sleep. He's not in his home, but it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And the socks, his feet are not shod, or he thinks they're not shod, and they really are.
Exactly. Exactly. So what's the lie he's believing? The very last line of this dream tells what he thinks. I feel like a third wheel, like I could be abandoned at any moment. So I'm going to give some context for the dream. Where we had this dream given to us is in the prison, and it's at a military installation. And this young man was coming up on his trial. And someone had made a comment, and we're not allowed to ask what they're in there for, how long they'll be there, but someone did hear him say over the last couple of weeks that he thought he was getting life, which is very serious. So you're right. He's feeling like his life is out of control, and the lie that he's believing is, I'm going to be abandoned at any moment. The good news is he had his trial, and they only gave him 7 years. But what we would do, he's a handsome young man, like early 20s, just the sweetest kid, so nice. But what we would do with a dream like that is we would say, Jesus, show me where you are in this dream. What's the lie that I'm believing? And the next question you ask is, what is the truth?
Yes.
And you say, Jesus, who do I need to forgive? And we walk him through forgiveness and break the power of that lie that he's going to be abandoned. All right. Are there any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a dream I'm working on interpreting for somebody, and I was wondering if I could get your thoughts.
Anybody else that has a thought that's listening, go ahead and type your answers. Go ahead.
Okay. We have a quiet group this time. There's actually several people on live. I think they figured out that we can sit and watch and not have to show our faces. So I just received this one an hour or two before the class, and it's an older woman with a group of older divorced women. And they're taking a class in a school, and they all fail.
Okay, just a minute. Say that again, because you paused. I didn't hear it.
Okay, it's a bunch of older women. They're all divorced. They're in school taking a class, and they all fail the class.
Okay.
My friend, then realizes that she had a box, a very important box, with important information in it, and she's lost it. She then is at a meeting with a very charismatic speaker, and he has the same type of box, but he's also lost his box. Mm-hmm. And he is slightly facially deformed with a strawberry birthmark. Mm-hmm. And when she goes up to greet him, he grabs her and hugs her, and she feels absolutely trapped. And she finally gets away from him to continue looking for this box.
Mm-hmm. And then she wakes up?
Yep.
Okay. So does she recognize anybody in the dream of the divorced women that are in this meeting?
No. Mm-mm.
And the charismatic man she doesn't feel good about, right?
No.
Okay. Did she give you any context for her life? What's going on right now in her own life?
Yes. Yes. And one, I found the group of women interesting because she even if she's not teaching what she does, but in a class, she is a nurturer. And she would be, even though they all failed, she'd be with those women ministering to them.
She would what? Say that again. You froze.
She would be with those women and ministering to them. She does feel out of control in her life. She was married only once. Her husband died. She'd love to be married again. And she feels a little bit like she's floating in the ocean, a little bit without direction, even though she's a mature Christian and a long-time believer.
Right. Okay. Are you ready for some input?
Yes.
Okay. First off, Graham Cook says, the catalyst for change is frustration. So I believe that God's bringing her to a place of change. And the box that she's looking for is that box that she's had God in all these years. This is how he operates. And he's not operating in her box, and it's season where the Lord wants her to see where he is in her life right now. So the first thing I would do, because she's believing a lie, number one, that she's out of control, and number two, that she's lost the very thing that's going to help her get control, to figure things out. So all I can think of is, you know, how that saying about we put God in a box, and I think that's what she's doing, is she's looking for that box that she's had God in all these years. So I would have her close her eyes, go to the dream, invite Jesus in, and say, Jesus, what's the lie? What's the truth? Where are you? What do you want me to know? And he will make it very clear. This is one of those dreams we'd use the healing tools on.
Oh, I so love it.
Because see, she's even going to that charismatic man. You know, when we sometimes can't find God in our box, then we're going to go to the prophet. Prophet, prophesy to me. You know, and it's not even going to be found there, because God is needing us out of the box.
Yeah, you froze on that one, but yes, exactly. You hit the nail on the head, and a lot of my friends say, you know, the truth will set you free, but before it does, it'll piss you off. And that's the truth. Honestly, that's where she's at. She's been studying a lot of the new revelations and things, and it freaks her out, and then she gets mad, and then she wants to go back to the way things were.
The way it used to be.
I can hardly wait to play this for her.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go through one more dream, the tsunami dream. Actually, two more. I just feel like there's two I'm supposed to give. And then I think we can call it a night. I think we've covered some ground. And then we'll meet again September 26th. The first one is kind of short. Your wallet, your purse, or your face. All three of those speak to your identity. So if your purse is missing, your wallet is missing, or your face is being deformed, there's something going on with your identity, what you're thinking about yourself or what others are thinking about you. So this particular dream, we call it the poison soup dream. This woman in her dream was having soup in a restaurant with her son. They left in her car, but he was driving. The car stopped at a light, and her door flew open, and she fell out. At that point, she could feel her face being eaten away by something like acid. She thought they must have poisoned the soup. Then she awoke. Anna, have you heard this dream before?
No, I have not.
Okay, so go ahead. What is your take on it?
Boy.
Who's driving the car?
Her son.
Her son's driving. And they're sitting at the table eating soup, and now her thought is, the soup's been poisoned. What happens over a meal? Relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, we commune. And so the words of the conversation, what she's consuming has been poisoned.
Yeah, so relationship. Something happened to the relationship. And as a result of what's going on in the relationship, what's happening to her face?
It's being eaten away.
So she's losing who
her
she
identity.
Her identity.
Your face is your identity.
Yeah, so she's losing a sense of her identity. So here's the context of the dream. Her son did not just say, "Mom, can I move in with you?" Her son called and said, "Mom, I'm moving in." This is an adult son. "Mom, I'm moving in with you." So she let him move in, and then they get into an argument about his bike. He wants it in the house. She wants it out in the garage. He wants it in the house. He wants it in the garage. He's taken the steering wheel of her life. He's taken control. It's poisoned their relationship, and she is losing her identity. She had a routine. She got up every day at the same time. She went to work. She had her exercise, and now her son's here, and she's losing her identity. That we give her the interpretation that something has poisoned your relationship with your son. You're losing your identity. She goes, "Oh my goodness, that's it."
Yeah.
But go ahead.
There's another point there, which, I mean, it's past now, but out of the heart the mouth speaks. Out of the mouth the heart speaks.
Yes.
And notice all she was intaking.
Yeah.
She had no authority to speak over the situation.
That's good. That's very good. And again, that's because he's in the driver's place. He's got the wheel. All right, I'm going to read a tsunami dream. And I think you're going to understand. I think everyone's probably going to get the interpretation of this. So just listen and picture the dream. It's really quite a beautiful dream. I knew some major catastrophe was occurring. People were drowning, and yet I was at peace. I feared drowning the most, so this is not common for me to be at peace. And this is somebody who doesn't swim well at all. I was on a hilltop at a beautiful ranch-type estate. I am busy running around preparing for a very important wedding. Everything had to be right, every flower, every place setting, etc. When I would look behind me, I could see in the near distance waves, tsunami style, crashing in and swallowing people up. Yet, I felt like it was so out of my hands. I was very sad, but it felt like it was done. Then I would deliberately turn around and focus straight ahead and go about the wedding prep. Suddenly, there's a problem. People start getting excited, and they're telling me, "My groom is here." Now, this is someone who is already married. "My groom is here. It is time." I realized it's my wedding. I get excited, and then immediately I panic. Where's my dress? I run around, and people can't help me find this dress. They keep saying, "He says the dress isn't important." It isn't about the dress. I run downstairs in a building and see the windows fill outside with water and realized it has reached us. It's here. Suddenly, I know that the wedding, the marriage, is what is important. I rush up and outside, and just as I'm ready to go down, as I am, someone pulls me aside, handing me the most beautiful wedding dress. It is strangely reminiscent of the gown I wanted as a child. It is huge and beautiful with puffs everywhere, long, beautiful sleeves that come to a point on my hands, sparkling off the shoulder with a long train. I can still see myself in it, though my face is not like my face. It's hard to make out. It's glowing. It sparkles in the sun. I put it on and feel like $1,000,000, like a princess. Suddenly, I'm walking down the aisle, and all of these people I love are there. The love beaming from their faces. They're all saying how happy they are for me, how radiant I look. As I look for my groom, I know it isn't my husband in real life, and that's okay. All around, I know there is devastation right behind me, on my heels, yet it is the most beautiful and calm moment. What would you think of a dream like that? What's the message?
Well, first of all, sounds like we're in the third day. The crisis all around us. But
what was important?
She's marrying Jesus. Yeah. She's the bride of Christ. And all the rest, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we listen to talk radio and we can get all hung up on the news and what's going on and the person. What can I do to make a difference today? What can I do? It's about the wedding. It's not even about the dress, how good I look. Because when it comes time, He's going to clothe us. He's going to make us look good as we make Him look good. And I just want to tell a little story. Did you have anything more to add before I tell the story and we call it to a close?
Go right ahead.
All right. So the story is make a difference. I heard a pastor once do the math, and he said that our lifespan, if 1,000 years is as a day to the Lord, he did the math on that, and our lives really are only about 45 minutes long. So what are we doing with our 45 minutes in comparison to all eternity? And that's where learning how to interpret dreams will open doors for us to be able to bring healing to people. And it could open other doors as well. But I just in making a difference, something that happened the last couple of months for me, and it kind of culminated the other night. I go through the store, and he'll say, I want you to pray for that one. I want you to talk to that one. I want you to ask that one if they need prayer. And as I've been obedient, I've had the most incredible experiences. Well, this one particular evening, I was over at Fred Meyer, and there was a gal there, and she was helping somebody who was needing home care. This person that she was with was a delightful, delightful little lady, but she was no lot more than about maybe 3 feet tall, just a tiny little lady. And I heard the Lord say, I'd like you to go pray for her friend, the one that's helping her. And I didn't do it. I was disobedient. And it's okay if we're disobedient because he does give us mulligans. He gives us a do-over. So I went home, and all the way home I'm saying, oh, Lord, I missed it. I'm so sorry. I didn't do it. A week later, I'm at the store, and those two are there again. So I raced up to the gal, and I said, I am so sorry. I was supposed to pray for you last week, and I didn't. And she looked at me in utter amazement. She said, who are you? And I don't understand. So I introduced myself. I gave him my Desire Ministries card, and I said, the Lord spoke to me, and I was supposed to pray for you last week. What can I pray for you now? And this little lady, this little sweet, darling lady, she said, oh, she's got a relationship problem. You can pray for that. Well, the girl, about 23 years old, she said, actually, on Sunday, now see, if I'd prayed for her on Thursday, maybe things would have been different. But she says on Sunday, she had a client that needed CPR. She says, I gave him CPR, and they died. And I said, oh, my dear, let me pray for you. So I began to pray for her, and next thing I know, she's in my arms sobbing, and I'm just leading her through some healing. So that was a couple months ago. About 3 weeks ago, that little lady is now in the store with somebody else, and I'm just leaving, and I look over, and there she is, and she's in a little tiny doll stroller, but it's a wheelchair made for her, and she just had cancer surgery on her foot, and I ran up to her, and I said, hi, how are you? What? And she has cancer, and this isn't the girl that was there before. And I said, what happened to you? And she says, well, I just had a cancer removed from my foot, too. I said, all right. So I prayed for her. I put in my phone to pray for her friend who has cancer, and her name is Roxanne, and if you feel led, pray for her as well. And so I left her, and I had it in my phone. Every morning when I get up to spend time with the Lord, I would be reminded to pray for Roxanne, and I would. Friday, no, today is Wednesday? Monday, I get a phone call. Nope, I'm sorry, forgive me, it's Tuesday. Tuesday, I get a phone call. And it's this little lady, little Diana, and she said, I was just told that I have esophageal cancer. Can you please pray for me? I said, Diana, I will do better than that. My friend Sarah and I are coming to your house tonight, and we're going to pray for you. Oh, my goodness. God showed up. We walked him through some forgiveness, through some sozo healing. I'm using the tools that you're going to learn in our Healing for Dreams class, which is going to be good. We used some of those tools with our friend that was there. Her name is Linda, and she had admitted to having some addictions. We walked her through some of the tools, and at one point, near the end, she took a gasp, and I thought she was going to die. She held her chest. She goes, ah, that was profound, so profound. He's given me freedom. She'd never heard Jesus speak to her. These other people had never heard Jesus speak to them. And that night they heard Jesus speak to them, and she was absolutely free. It was the most powerful experience. So with that, I just want to leave you with when the Lord taps on your shoulder, you're in the store, you're in the coffee shop, wherever you are, respond. If it's Jesus tapping your shoulder, oh my goodness, you won't be disappointed. So with that, Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you bring it to a close, and we'll just see everybody again on September 26th.
Paula, thank you. This is really exciting. We will post an event on Facebook to remind everybody. And other than that, God bless you. Share this with your friends, and we will talk to you soon.
All righty. Thanks, Brian. You're the best.
Yep.
You are.